In this section, we will discuss how to create a budget. Let's talk about preparing to start our budget, how to categorize income and expenses, and complete our budget. The first step is to decide what method we want to use for our budget. Will we do it the old-fashioned way using pen and paper, or will we use a spreadsheet such as Excel or iWorkNumbers? We may also consider a money management software program such as Microsoft Money or Quicken. Of course, you can always use the budgeting tool provided by iaskemma.com. Each of these options offers pros and cons, but the most important thing is that we choose the one that best meets our personal needs. After choosing what method to use, it is time to collect the documents we need to do the budget. We need to gather our paycheck stubs and other documents that will give us an indication of our true income. The next thing we want to do is complete all of our bills, credit card statements, etc. Now that we have decided what method will work best for us and have all of our documents in hand, we will start to categorize our monthly expenses and income. As mentioned earlier, the best budgets are the ones that are specific to our own needs. So we need to decide how detailed we want to be. Do we envision our expenses that will have just general categories such as housing, food, entertainment, investments, etc.? Or are we a person we'd like to have lots of categories and lots of subcategories? Categories in our income should be pretty easy for most people to do. Let's look at calculating our income. If our income is not accurate, then our budget will not help us to control our money. When it comes to filling in our income portion, it is not only important to be accurate, but also to include all of our income sources. For example, if we neglect to include our year-end bonus into our budget, then we'll have large sums of money not accounted for. As we know, dollars that are not accounted for often find themselves to be spent on items that will not help us to reach our financial goals. Now it's time to input our expenses into our budget. Since we may have many different expenses, it can be difficult to get them all correct the first time. However, don't stress about it getting it right the first time, because we will be updating our monthly budget. But we should know that the best budgeters do try to be accurate, as only to make their budget even stronger. While it may feel good to be optimistic about our expenses, it's crucial that we are honest if we are going to be successful. Also, if reducing our debt and savings for an emergency fund are important to us, we need to put something toward them in our budget. Some expenses are considered fixed, such as your car payment, phone bill, and rent. These fixed expenses are easy to track as they're the same each month. On the flip side, we have some expenses that change month to month, such as dining out, entertainment, and stops at the convenience store. These are often referred to as variable expenses because they vary and are not the same month to month. These expenses can be more difficult to track and will require a little bit more work on our end. There are many theories on how to account for these expenses. A few examples are: number one, a system where we can take cash out at the beginning of the month and allocate each dollar toward a category. Second, we can carry a little notebook with us and write down where we spend each dollar. Third, some people choose to use a credit card or debit card for most purchases, so they have an electronic trail. Fourth, others choose to take each receipt and place it in a box to track their expenses. Like most choices, there are pros and cons to each, but the most important thing we need to find a system that works for us. At this point, we have separated our income and expenses into categories and inputted the numbers into our budget. The next step is to subtract our expenses from our income and get our budget to balance or equal zero. Now we may see that our income is less than our expenses, or that we have some extra money that is not accounted for. If we find our income is greater than our expenses, we should add the extra money to categories that help us meet our financial goals, such as our emergency fund, debt reduction category, or investments. If we see that our expenses outweigh our income, it's time to make some changes with our discretionary income. In summary, when we are ready to set up a budget that works, there are a few simple steps we should follow. Choose the method that works best for us individually. Categorize our income and expenses and find the differences between the two. If we have a surplus of money, we should use it to achieve our financial goals. If we have a shortage, we may want to rethink our spending because it will be almost impossible to reach our financial goals.